Hello, this is Virginia Jones, the Executive Director of Compassionate Gathering, an organization that recognizes that the whole community is wounded by the crime of abuse and that the whole community needs to be involved in the healing process. Our goals are to end abuse and heal the wounds, and since 2008, we have been walking across portions of Oregon to accomplish that goal, to bring the community into the healing process. We do that to raise awareness about abuse and by sharing our stories and the stories of other survivors with the media and in one-on-one conversations. We also want to connect survivors with sources of support. And third, we want to heal by having fun in our beautiful state of Oregon. Fun is neglected as a part of the healing process. Many survivors are overwhelmed with depression and are not able to get out on their own, and when they get out as a part of a walk, they have fun, they laugh, they connect with other survivors, and they're more able to come out to a support group once they've been on the walk. Fun is an important part of the healing process. We began the walk on July 9th. We rode the MAX train to downtown Portland and got off at Pioneer Square and walked to Teachers Fountain, named in honor of teachers. Teachers often are first responders, first reporters of abuse, because they notice that a child is not doing well or has bruises or has behavioral issues. So teachers are very valuable in helping people, helping children in particular, get the help that they need. From Teachers Fountain, we walked along the South Park blocks where we encountered a Ford Model T convention, and we went to the Farmers Market at Portland State University. There we encountered English Morris dancers. They oftentimes have musicians and performers in the market. It's a huge farmers market. We had lots of samples, tasty jams and jellies and breads, and even a salad, pickles, pickled jellies. Really wonderful selection of foods. We walked through downtown Portland and down the waterfront along the Willamette River to the Portland Saturday Market, where we encountered even more delicious food. I sometimes call the walk across Oregon the eating our way across Oregon. Here we are on July 18th. We walked with the homeless, and we started out in front of Whole Foods. We met this street root vendor. That was one of our things that we were doing. We were working with Street Roots. Street Roots is a newspaper advocating for the homeless and written by the homeless. Low income and homeless vendors make a small income from selling the paper. And with us here are my son Colin on the left, Francis, who is a domestic violence survivor, Mary Lou, who suffered emotional child abuse, and January, who has a really horrendous story of child abuse, and January, who's a rape survivor. And we went to Panera Cares first, and then we went to the Hollywood branch of Multnomah County Library. We met Neil there. Neil is a hero. He defended a woman being assaulted by another man and ended up having his shoulder and his nose broken. St. Paul said that you never know when the stranger you meet is an angel, or they might be a hero like Neil. So don't stereotype homeless people. You never know. We did meet quite a few survivors of abuse who were homeless or low income on this walk. It was probably the walk that we had the most context with the most people. I'm not showing any of their faces. I'm keeping them and their stories confidential. But we did encounter this statue of a corgi in a garden in Northeast Portland. It's really beautiful. Fun walk, enjoyable walk through all the neighborhoods with gardens. And we also encountered this sculpture or cairn of rocks and found art. January and Terry really loved this. We all loved it. Then we passed through Holiday Park just south of Lloyd Center. I encounter homeless people here on a regular basis, sleeping under the hedges or begging for money. Then we passed by the waterfront park and the Willamette Esplanade, and here we are just below the Veterans Peace Garden, and here is quite a number of survivors gathered, or homeless people. The homeless people tell me they're survivors of abuse. Not always child abuse, but they say the abuse comes from the system and from people who stereotype them. One person, as you can see, has a wheelchair. He's not in his wheelchair, but can you just imagine being homeless and confined to a wheelchair? How hard that is. We crossed the Willamette River on the lower level of the steel bridge. Many homeless people are gathered here on a regular basis. We passed by this fountain in Waterfront Park before heading downtown. We encountered a victim of domestic violence who was begging for money on a street corner. I didn't take her picture once again. Oftentimes when you're a domestic violence survivor, when you flee the abuse, you automatically become homeless. A lot of domestic violence agencies are able to help with gas money and vouchers for hotels or shelters and food and blankets and clothes. But it's a pretty hard road to follow to leave a husband who's abusive or a boyfriend who's abusive when you have young children. And it's a very hard situation for women and children. We met the homeless domestic violence survivor later on at Occupy Portland, where she found temporary shelter and temporary work. And but then Occupy Portland was broken up, and I don't know where she is. She said her alternative was sleeping under a bridge because she was with her brother, and most shelters don't take couples, even brother and sister. On the evening of July 5th, we walked through the rhododendron garden. We encountered no survivors, but we did encounter ducks, geese, and peace of mind. Again, one of the reasons I love to walk is I've struggled with depression from being a survivor of abuse. One-time incident when I was 4 years old. Pretty bad abuse, but just one time. And a chronic dysfunctional family situation as a child. And walking always healed me. And the rhododendron garden is very peaceful. It's very easy, paved paths in many places, graded gravel paths. Lovely place to go. Here I am. I broke my elbow and had surgery in 2011. And it hurt pretty badly a good deal of the time. So I was holding my arms above my head to ease the pain that I was going through. Here's my son Colin communicating with a goose, and here he is sitting by the water, and there's ducks, a line of ducks out there on that log. And then on August 5th we walked along Mississippi Avenue. We encountered no survivors of abuse. I think when we go to places like Mississippi Avenue that have lots of shops and cafes and are geared towards tourists and visitors, people enjoying themselves, people don't come forward there. They're kind of going about their business of having fun. On the other hand, our survivors had lots of fun. We're always laughing and giggling and enjoying the sights and sounds and food that we encountered there. And here we also encountered dogs. We pet this dog. Francis loves dog. Francis is a domestic violence survivor. I work with 4 survivors who own pit bulls. I wonder why survivors get along with dogs better than they get along with people, and why pit bulls are our favorite dog of survivors of abuse. One of our favorite shop on Mississippi Avenue was Gibson Gallery. It was filled with lots of crazy and fun gifts and clothes. Here, Terry tried on this hat, and then she tried on these sunglasses with Sydney, and then everybody tried on sunglasses, and then Frances found these Catholic socks, and Mary Lou, who's a breast cancer survivor, found this breast cancer memorial apron. And then Frances found a new hat. And then after we left Gibson Gallery, we walked back to our car. I couldn't get my kids to walk another couple miles to our house, so we had to drive home. We encountered this kitty, and Sydney got to play with the kitty and was very, very happy. Fun evening. On August 11th, we walked through Seaside, along the beach, and then through the town. Very beautiful day, very peaceful, restful, fun. On August 12th, we walked with the staff and volunteers with the Clatsop County Women's Resource Center. We started at the East Boat Basin and walked along the Columbia River towards the West Boat Basin. The walk was very peaceful. And here we are at the West Boat Basin. There's a lot of pleasure boats, but there are also commercial fishing boats there. And we found this little store that was selling freshly caught fish, and here's Sydney holding a crawdad. They were selling crawdads, live crawdads. My kids had great fun. We stopped at Arcadia Beach on the way home to Portland on August 13th. It was heaven on earth, very beautiful, very peaceful, very healing. Here's my son Colin playing at the beach. On August 17th, we walked from Garibaldi to Bay City in Tillamook County on Tillamook Bay by the Pacific Ocean. We started out at the Bay Lane Clam Bed Pier. We went there at low tide. Here's Sydney and Annie. We're looking through the rocks to find little marine invertebrates. At low tide, you can see into the water, and we could see jellyfish swimming along and crabs scuttling along the bottom. It was really incredible, just wonderful. So here's the clam bed pier from the other side. And then we walked to the Garibaldi Marina, and we found shops and cafes selling interesting objects such as these, whatever these are. And we also encountered real fishermen and this pier with crab pots lined up along the sides. And then we found a survivor of abuse, this little tiny kitten in the back of this truck. And through the joint efforts of Kim, Terry, Sydney, and Annie, we rescued the kitty. Here's Terry holding the kitty. We took it home and bathed it and did other things. We ate lunch before heading to Bay City, and right, you can see Colin and Felicia, an anonymous survivor of abuse, Kim, Christine, Terry, January, Sydney, and a friend. The next day, we drove home to Portland. Yes, we have to keep on driving. You know, what do I do with 2 kids? Someday I would like to walk across the United States, but I've got kids, they're in school, and they won't walk every step of the way. But we passed through Seaside, where Our Lady of Victory Church is located. Maurice Gramond is one of Oregon's most serially abusive priests, served here from 1965 to 1985. Dozens of survivors in that church. This is the rebuilt church, though, unfortunately. They tore down the old church. And the clergy abuse survivor who came with us wants to remain anonymous, and we walked through the church and prayed for all those wounded by the abuses in this church. Then we walked back to the beach. This is the end of the walk until next year. It's already next year. Join us. We hope to walk through the Painted Hills in Wheeler County. Bye!